This is wonderful. Hey, family. I am a great believer in Jesus Christ. And I have been delivered from addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, of over 16 years. And my name is Sarah. Hey, y'all. So, Lynn, thank you so much for the plug to 575. Yes, go on Facebook, Instagram, and like us, follow us. And if you need some lessons, I would be more than happy to teach you how to play. It's amazing. The disease of addiction affects us mentally, physically, and spiritually, right? And so I've always been an active individual, and I have found something new. It's like 10 months that I've been playing pickleball, and I've gotten silver medals, I've gotten bronze medals, and I'm waiting for the gold. So come help me to get gold. Yeah, I'm in a pickle. Thanks, Jack. All right, so listen, I have been very fruitful. I don't like to call myself busy. I like to call myself fruitful because I'm actually doing things intentionally, right? Building up a business, collaborating with individuals, resigning from my former place of employment. Things have been kind of hectic, and I knew that I was going to be doing the teaching tonight. However, I confirmed with Pastor Brandon today, and I have been studying the wrong lesson. So, here we are. We're all looking at this pretty much for the first time tonight, okay? So actually, it's more of a teaching that we're going to be doing tonight, and it's on inventory, right? So if any of y'all have any familiarity with Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, or any other A, right, you know that doing a moral inventory is a part of the process. They actually talk a lot about it in the 4th step. And so I'm not going to put any negative connotations on this at all tonight. What I am going to do is encourage y'all to listen and to be hopeful about the chance and the opportunity to do this 4th step, okay? It's very freeing, it's very rewarding, and it gives so much relief if we have the willingness to go through this. So I know that y'all got some handouts. If you didn't, I think Sarah L. might have some to give y'all. Did anybody not get a handout? Show of hands. All right, so Sarah's gonna grab y'all some handouts, and then there's some pens on the back seat of the chair in front of you. Okay, thank you, Sarah. I'm gonna stop. Principle 4. So openly examine and confess my faults to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. And that goes along with Matthew 5:8, in which he says, happy are the pure in heart. Step 4, we made a searching and fair moral inventory of ourselves. And as we just read, it says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. And that's Lamentations 3:40. So here's the introduction. Tonight, we're going to take a look at how to start your inventory, so get ready to write. That's right. Your inventory needs to be on paper. Writing or typing will help you to organize your thoughts and focus on recalling events that you may have repressed. Remember, you are not going through this alone. You are developing your support team to guide you, but even more importantly, you are growing in your relationship with Jesus Christ. So, it was probably about 15 and a half years ago that I began my first set of going through the steps. And so probably about 15 years ago, I was ready to start writing on the 4th step. And I can tell you that so steps 1, 2, and 3 was a setup, right? It was a setup for me to be able to build that foundation, to be able to gain a relationship with the God of my understanding at that time is what I was saying, right? Now I know it's the Lord. So I was building a relationship with the Lord, and I was also building a network of people. It was so vital in this process for me to have other individuals that I could, turn to, that I could lean on, that I could get some identification from. But the most important thing for me at that point was for me to have a sponsor. I needed to have another woman that had been through the same thing that I had been through, who was, so the first 3 steps, right? Like I was building that relationship with those people, and then specifically with my sponsor. So I had this level of trust with her. The first 3 steps allowed me to get to know her, she got to know me, and the trust was built. So coming into the 4th step, there wasn't any fear for me. I can tell you that when I was going through it, And I don't know if anybody else shares this experience, and I've often shared this because, in the step working process that I was going through, there were 69 questions in this step working book, right, that I was doing. And I'm like, golly, you keep asking the same question in a different phrase, throughout the whole entire thing. And it was digging deep. I'm like, this book is so nosy. It's asking me so many questions, and there were some answers that I wrote down in the back of the notebook that I was not going to share with anybody. The real dirty, deep, dark secrets that I had. I would write them down, but I wasn't going to share them with my sponsor. And thank God that not one time when I was going through my inventory with her did she look up at me and say, "Oh my gosh, you are so disgusting," right? Like not one time did she say, "Oh, I can't sponsor you anymore. You're too bad," And so that allowed me, that the relationship that was built going through that fourth step, it was about 5 hours that I sat with her, was the catalyst for me to be able to share the stuff that I was going to take to my grave. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do that, because the freedom and the relief that I have been experiencing since then is like no other, right? Like I have been able to, and this is practice, right? And there's a few people in this room right now that know me very well, that walk this life with me every single day, and they know that I am my most authentic self, right? Like I'm not bringing anybody else to the table. You're not going to get Sarah Q, the church goer. You're not going to get Sarah Q, the pickleball player. Like you're getting me and who I am as a woman today. And it's because of the inventory process, right? It's because of trusting the Lord. So there's just a little bit of hope, right? So the inventory. Ephesians 4:31 tells us, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice." The 5-column inventory sheet in Participant Guide 2, which is what y'all have, I believe, were developed to help you with this task. Let's take a look at each of the columns. Oh, I should have read this, because it says, if your inventory is anything like mine, well, it will take you more than one page to write it out. Yes, so if your inventory is anything like mine, it'll take you more than one page to write it out, okay? You have permission to copy the Celebrate Recovery Principle 4 inventory worksheets on page 30 and 31, which is what y'all have from the Celebrate Recovery Participants Guide, taking an honest and spiritual inventory. So the first column, it's telling us that in this column, you list the person or object you resent or fear. Go as far back as you can. Remember that resentment is mostly unexpressed anger and fear. The good news is that as you work completely through Principle 4, you will see that your resentments fade as the light of your faith in Jesus Christ is allowed to shine on them. Remember to list all the people and things that you are holding resentment against. So, I shared a little bit about some of I told you that I had some secrets in the back of the notebook that I wasn't going to share with anybody, right? And I can share with y'all a couple of them that I was holding on to. So I was molested at a very early age, and if you were here for my testimony, or if you saw it on, did it even get posted?
On YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Then you know some of the things. Some of the things that were in the back of that notebook, right? Like the molestation, the things that I did to other people that I thought, were definitely going to put me in hell. The secrets that I was holding on to, the pure, like anger, like the bitterness that I had within me, and I shared this with y'all, right? And I was 33 years old when I first came into recovery, and so between the ages of 12 years old and 33 years old, I had this one vision in my head. It was there every single day, and it looked like this. I had, what is it called? The needle nose shovel? What's that shovel? Yeah. Spade. So I had one of those, and I dug a grave, and the man that was touching me and putting his hands on me was when I was a child. I hit him in his neck. I killed him, and every single day, this is what I'm holding. Like I used at that for so many years. I was practicing self-harm. I was inflicting more pain in my life because of those visions, because of that experience, right? And so being able to honestly share that and receive love in return, not only love in return, like I received identification in return. It set me free. I no longer, and you know, the beauty of this is that, you know, the sponsor that I was working with, she had encouraged me to stop praying for this gentleman. And I was like, oh, golly, like she didn't even hear what I said, you know? Like she didn't even hear what I just told her and what was happening, but she knew better because she had been through it, you know? And so I began to pray, and they were prayers of just me speaking. My heart wasn't in it. But something started happening. After a couple of weeks, right? Like I actually started to mean my prayers, right? Like, God, forgive him. Please, I hope he's not doing that to anybody else. I hope he didn't do it to anybody else. And now, you know, one of the miracles that I've received is the fact that I don't think about that man at all anymore, except for when I'm sharing about what had happened, right? Like he's not even a thought in my mind, except for when I'm talking about it and trying to help somebody else through a similar situation. So, yeah. All right, so column 2. It has been said that hurt people hurt people. In this column, you are going to list specific actions that someone did to hurt you. What did the person do to cause you resentment and fear? An example would be the alcoholic father who was emotionally unavailable for you as you were growing up. Another example would be the parent who attempted to control and dominate your life. This reflective look can be very painful, but it's why having a sponsor or an accountability team is essential. These people will be there to walk you through the pain. Of course, Jesus will be with you too. God promises in Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand." And so, you know, when we're doing the third step, right, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, over to the care of the Lord, right? Every single day, it's very, very important that I am intentional because God's there, right? Like God is there. So I know that he's there. But intentionality is so important because I can get up in the morning, very easily get up in the morning and start my day and just go on about my business and not invite God in, right? And for years and years and years, the first thing that I do when I get up is I literally roll out of bed on my knees, right? And I thank him for another day. I have a conversation with the Lord. Like I invite him in so that he can walk with me. The only way the only way that he's going to be able to use me is if I do that, right? I want God's light to shine through me. I want to be intentional with having this relationship with him. You know, a lot of us hear about having a conscious contact with God. It is so important. And I'm going to tell you why, right? So last week I processed with Pastor Brendan. So listen, last week in the ladies group, most of y'all were there. And towards the end of the group, I was getting text messages from my former employer, right? And they were saying some things to me that I definitely did not agree with whatsoever. It kind of started to rub me the wrong way. And so my network, right? As soon as we were wrapping up with the women's group last week, I pulled Pastor Brandon aside, I pulled Stephanie aside, and I said, I need y'all. I need y'all. And I read them what was going on with my text messages. And I am a very sensitive, I have a very tender heart, right? I'm strong in the Lord. I'm very assertive, but I also have that heart that, like, I mean, God made me very special, right? He did. And so, with their support, and they know me, right? I resigned from my job last Monday night after Celebrate Recovery. And I went to pick up because here's the thing, right? I have learned over the years that you can't just treat me any old way. You know, you cannot, like, I no longer am going to be used or abused or devalued, right? I am a high-valued woman. I serve the Lord. He lives his life through me. And so, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to quit a job without already having something in place. And, I learned that years ago as a responsible individual. It's very important. I am the primary provider in my family. And so the only provider in my family. So I better have something lined up, right? And so I do, and I'm very grateful for that. And thank you guys for being there and checking in with me, So column 3, the effect. In this column, write down how that specific hurtful action affected your life, both in the past and in the present. So those are the stuff so here it is, right? I was a blame thrower, right? I played the blame game for many, many years. If the judge would have just left me alone, right? If he wouldn't have sentenced me to probation or to do some time or whatever it was at the time, then I would be okay. And I had to come to the realization that self-pity is not going to get me anywhere. That self-loathing and poor me was not going to get me anywhere. I literally had to take a look at what was happening and admit that I was the cause of this stuff, not the judge, right? I mean, my mom played a part in some of the toxicity growing up, but she wasn't even the cause of my adult decisions. I was the cause of my adult decisions, right? So accepting responsibility and working through the guilt, the shame, the remorse, the resentment was very, very important and vital in this process. I couldn't blame people for my behavior anymore. It stopped working. Right? Years ago, it stopped working. And we'll get to that, but the 8th step talks about how we can still live with outdated survival skills. So the skills that I was using was not working for me anymore. So I had to start making some different decisions and process the hurt, process the pain, and get to the other side. And I was encouraged too that we don't relive it. Right? It's not me reliving it. It's me going through it. It's me knowing that there's going to be another side. Because here's what happens in my mind. I'm like, if I talk about this stuff, I'm going to feel so bad forever. Right? I'm going to have that gnawing, that burning sensation in my heart forever. So I had to be very careful about that self-talk. Because nothing is forever. Nothing is forever. Right? I know that I was born and I know that I'm going to die, right? Those are two facts that I know in my life. Everything else has a season to it, especially when we're dealing. Yeah, it is the dash that counts. Yep, so, okay. Column 4, the damage. Which of your basic instincts were injured? Social. Have you suffered from broken relationships, slander, or gossip? Security. Has your physical safety been threatened? Have you faced financial loss? Sexual. Have you been a victim in an abusive relationship or abusive relationships? Has intimacy or trust been damaged or broken? And so, I would fair statement to say that everybody in this room has at least 1, 2, 3, or maybe even all 4 of these, right? Where some part of our being has been affected in this manner. And all I'm telling you right now, and what this is saying is that we get to do some work. We get to do some work on ourselves, right? Yeah. Thank God. So no matter how you have been hurt, no matter how lost you may feel, God wants to comfort and restore you. Remember Ezekiel 34:16. I will look for those that are lost, bring back those that wander off, bandage those that are hurt, and heal those that are sick. He's with us, family, right? The Lord is with us. He wants us to be able to be freely whole and wholly free. See, early recovery for me, there was so much going on. So much going on. I was a mess. And God couldn't really use me the way that he wanted to use me until I got all that inside stuff out, right? Because, again, I wasn't really practicing integrity. The things that I was doing when nobody was looking were still ugly. I remember having 2 years clean, 2 years free, and I was in a CVS at an ATM machine, and the person before me left the money. okay? And I knew God at this time. But guess what I did? I took that money and I was like, too bad for them. It didn't even really affect me too much, right? But today, if I saw that $200 left in that ATM machine, listen, I am dragging you, I'm finding you, right? I'm going to go out into that parking lot and you're going to get your money back, right? And it takes some time for that to happen. Like, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't, some things can happen overnight, right? I'm not going to eliminate what God can do ever, but most of this is a part of the process. So we learn to respect the process, right? Column 5, my part. Lamentations 3:40 states, "Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord." It doesn't say, "Let us examine their ways." You did that already in the first 4 columns. Now you need to honestly determine the part of the resentment or any other sin or injury that you are responsible for. Ask God to show you your part in a broken or damaged marriage or relationship, a distant child or parent, or maybe even a job loss. In addition, in this column lists all the people who you have hurt and how you have hurt them. You will use column 5 later in principle 6 when you work on becoming willing to make your amends. So you have a column 6 on your paper. That's wonderful. All right, Psalm 139, 23 through 24 tells us, "Examine me, O God, and know my mind. Test me and discover my thoughts. Find out if there is any evil in me, and guide me in the everlasting way." So when I went through this thing with my former employer last week, I ended up going to pick up my belongings on last Thursday. And I had my friend Gates in my ear, through the earbuds. And because I don't want to, hey, I still have that person inside of me, The girl that was hurt, battered, bruised, abused, she's in there. She doesn't really come out often, but I know the interactions that I've had with this woman over the last almost 7 years, And I know how toxic our communications have been over the last almost 7 years. And so just to have another individual with me there to kind of help keep me on the straight and narrow, remember what the purpose is for me being there, and so that person doesn't come up, because right here it says, "Find out if there is any evil in me and guide me in the everlasting way," right? Like consciously being connected with God, spiritually being connected with God, I still need a person sometimes. I still need a person sometimes to help me to navigate, Because, it's something that I've never quit a job before. I've always been fired, We don't want you here anymore. Whatever, we're tired of you stealing. We're tired of you coming in late. We're tired of whatever. But it wasn't the case. Like, I've never formally resigned from a position before. And so, thank you, Gates. I love you, man, And the evilness didn't come out. Did the evilness come out? No. Not a lot? Not a lot. I did good. And not that I needed that validation, because I don't, right? Like the way that I carried myself and the way that I felt leaving there is what was important to me. I knew that I was doing the right thing for the right reason. The peace of God was with me. And so even to this day, like I pray for her. I found myself praying for, my former supervisor. Did you look at your clock? You did.
I did.
So you made me. Well, you forgot your watch. That's the only reason why you didn't look at your clock. All right, let's go. All right, so please know if you have been in an abusive relationship, especially as a small child, you can find great resentment. You can find the resentment by simply writing the words "none" or "not guilty" in column 5. You can begin to be free from the misplaced shame and guilt you have carried with you. Celebrate Recovery has rewritten step 4 for those who have been sexually or physically abused. It says, "Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, realizing all wrongs can be forgiven. Renounce the lie that the abuse was our fault." Yeah. That is so powerful. I don't care where you were. I don't care if you keep telling yourself that you put yourself in that position. So, no is no, right? No is no. Remember that and be empowered by that. This is not your fault. All right, there are 5 twos that help you prepare your inventory. Memorize Isaiah 1:18. Come, let's talk this over, says the Lord. No matter how deep the stains of your sins, I can take it out and make you as clean as freshly fallen snow. Even if you are stained as red as crimson, I can make you white as wool. Read the Balancing the Scales verse on page 29 of Participant Guides 2. And keep your inventory balanced. List both the good and the bad. This is very important. As God reveals the good things that you have done in the past or are doing in the present, list them on the reverse side of your copies of the Celebrate Recovery Principles 4 inventory worksheet. Continue to develop your support team and continuously pray. Don't wait to start your inventory. Don't let any obstacles stand in your way. If you don't have a sponsor or an accountability partner yet, talk to someone tonight. If you need a participant's guide, pick one up at the information table. Bless you. Pick one up at the information table. Set a time and place and get busy. You can do it. Thank you for letting me teach.